Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. What we will be doing this week is obviously unveiling our bike for 2021. This is a 190 Evo chassis Ohvale. We'll be talking you through what comes standard, what's different between the Evo chassis and the standard chassis that you find on the 110 and the 160, and obviously the older 190 bikes as well. And once we've gone through the differences and how it's better, we'll also be going through our upgrades that we've done to it and show you all around the bike. So here we go. Okay, so first up, we're going to talk about the frame. The frame is 20mm longer than a standard Ohvale that you find on the 110 and the 160 chassis, and obviously the old 190 chassis as well. The way that they've done that is they've welded basically an extension from the front tank mount to the headstock to push everything forward. In doing so, obviously you've got a little bit more room between the seat and the cockpit area. Now I haven't measured this, but from what I've been told, with everything at the rear end, the swing arm, etc, staying the same, by extending this front, it would also alter the rake of the forks, which should provide better handling. And everything that I've heard and spoken to people that ride these bikes on a regular basis have all said exactly the same thing. The bike handles far better than the previous model. So, as I said, I haven't measured the rake of the forks, but from what I've been told, it has altered it slightly. Which, as I said, makes for better handling. So not only have they moved this forward, but they've also altered the shape of the tank. The tank is slightly longer, meaning the seat is further back. And not only have they made it slightly longer, but as you can see just under here where my fingers are, and again under here under the seat unit, they've also now sat it on top of like little 15mm rubber bunks. So actually the seat and the tank sit further up on the chassis. And from what I've read, the seat is actually 40mm higher than a standard Ohvale. So all the centre of gravity, i.e. the engine and all the heavy stuff of the bike is lower. Again, points in the right direction of the handling is better. Which, as I said, all reports have said it is. That's the reason why we've gone for it. And everybody that I've spoken to over in Italy regarding this bike says that they've seen year on year from the older 190 to this Evo 190, their lap times have improved by at least half a second. So all these minor adjustments with the 20mm here and the 15mm here and etc obviously make a difference. Half a second a lap is, you know, could be the difference between fourth and first. So everything that they've done obviously looks like it's going in the right direction. Again, another reason why we've got it. Let's hope for a good 2021. And what we'll do now is we'll run through all of the upgrades that we've done, and here's Zach with the first one.
On the standard Evo, it comes with all the gear linkages, which makes it all up. But we've taken it all off and put the race shift lever on, which makes it all down, which I ride with and which makes it a bit easier.
So next up I want to talk to you about the forks. We've actually upgraded the internals, which I'll talk to you about in a second, but the forks are exactly the same length. There's no difference there, but the big difference is they've changed the bottom part of the fork. So you've got a different fork foot, should we say, along with the caliper, the way the caliper mounts. The older ones you used to have a bracket that bolted to the fork, and then you used to have the caliper that bolted to the bracket. So there was a little bit of flex there. What they've done on this one is they've changed the bottom of the fork so that the caliper mount is all part of the actual fork. It's a far better design, looks cooler as well. So that's a big difference there. Still got the same formula calipers and the formula master cylinder. They work really well, so why would you want to change it? Okay, so next up is the Öhlins by Andriani fork internals. Basically it's a complete kit that you take the old cap off as standard, these forks come with preload adjusters. I believe they're red, little red preload adjusters in the top. But what we've done is we've taken out all of the original internals, put the Ohlins internals in. That now gives you full compression, rebound, preload. Everything is fully adjustable. It does make a big difference when we go to different tracks. For instance, Three Sisters and Teessides, real fast flowing tracks. Teesside especially is a bit bumpy. And then you go to a place like, for instance, Stretton, which is very small, tight, twisty. You're not going to want the same suspension settings on, for instance, a nice smooth track to a really bumpy, tight and twisty track. So to have the adjustment that we have in these forks is fantastic, and it's well worth the money.
We've also fitted the Micron 5 dashboard by AIM. It keeps track of all my race data, like my track lap times, my gear changes, my RPM. It also has a mini onboard dyno. With all this data to look at, it helps me improve my lap times each time I go out on track.
Okay, so next up, I just want to talk to you very quickly about the engine. In ours, we have a Daytona 4-valve 190 engine. It's the 4-speed gearbox version. As standard, these bikes did come with the 5-speed gearbox. Unfortunately, there was a few problems with the gearbox, losing gears, etc. So Ohvale have actually recalled these, from what I believe, and they're no longer doing the 5-speed. So if you buy one now, it will be a 4-speed gearbox. They're proven, everything works, and they're a really strong power unit. Coupled together with the 28mm carb, produces some really good power. I think we saw 24 and a bit brake horsepower on the dyno. So yeah, it's a good lump. Okay, so the other thing that I think is really cool on this bike, and it comes with all 190s. It's not specific just to the Evo chassis or the one. Oh, it's specific to the 190 bike, but is the arrow can. It's a lot bigger than the ones you find on the 110s and the 160s. It looks chunky. It produces a really good noise as well. If I was able to start it up, obviously I'm indoors at the minute, but if I was able to start it up, I'd let you listen to it. It's a really nice sound. Again, coupled with the engine, makes for good power. Yeah, I just think it's really cool. It looks really nice.
Another upgrade that we always go for are these rear chain adjusters. We have these instead of the axle blocks. It makes it a lot easier to work with and to adjust the chain.
About the upgrades that we've done, they're available to everybody. Some of them are just for comfort, some of them are for safety, some of them are just because we want to. So what I'm going to talk to you about is a styling aspect. Actually, we think they look cool. We had aftermarket wings on our old bike. I'll insert a little picture here so you can see them. Really easy, cheap option off of Amazon. I think they're about £6, but they look cool. So we stuck them on. But for this year, Ohvale have actually done some really cool wings. They look like MotoGP wings, obviously on both sides. Alters the styling of the bike really nicely. We love them. It's a bit of a pain with the graphics. As you can see, I've had to use 2 different graphics, but they look good, and we like them. We've also added on the clutch and the brake guards. We went for a carbon fibre effect. I'm not going to buy real carbon fibre, it's ridiculously expensive, but carbon fibre effect. These are for obviously safety. You need to have, by regulation, the brake lever guard anyway, but we added on the clutch side just to make it look a little bit more even. We've also upgraded the heel plates to the carbon fibre ones. That is real carbon fibre. We had them on our old bike, we've just changed them over to the new ones. Last year the Ohvale 110 Cup was actually sponsored by Evotech. So this, as standard, is just a little metal paddock bobbin, but what Evotech made for everybody in the class was these paddock bobbin come crash bobbins. You need to have the crash bobbins as part of the regulations in the British mini bikes, and this acts really well. perfectly legal in the class, looks really, really nice, and we decided to keep them and swap them over to the new bike. Something else that we do on our bikes is we turn the shock upside down. Now we did it primarily because we were told, not so much on the 110s and the 160s, but on the 190s, the exhaust gets so hot that with the reservoir up the top right by the exhaust, it can actually alter the shock's efficiency. We were told that by the guys over in Italy, and you know, it doesn't make a difference to us, so we turned them upside down just because they told us to, basically. But in doing so, what it has made easier is adjusting the shock. So the rebound now sits right here, so there's a nice hole there. You can get your hand in to adjust the rebound, and the compression adjustment is right here. So again, much easier to adjust everything. So whether or not it does affect the performance of the shock by having it as standard the right way up with the exhaust getting so hot, I don't know. All I can say is from experience, when we had this, or not this bike, sorry, our older bike on a dyno down at 00 Racing down in Kent, we was getting the carb set up, etc., and obviously they put an exhaust extractor on the end, so obviously the exhaust gases and whatnot don't gas you out in the dyno room. Now when we had it on the dyno, the big pipe, which obviously just hooks onto the end of the exhaust and goes outside the building, this exhaust actually melted that pipe. It was unbelievable. 1 minute we were there in the dyno room and the bike was nice and, well, it wasn't quiet, but it was almost quiet because the exhaust gases and the sound was being pushed up this hose. And next minute it was so loud, ridiculously loud. We both turned around, had a look at the exhaust, and the hose had melted. It actually melted a hole in the hose. It was unreal. So yes, the exhausts do get very hot, far hotter than any other bike really that I've had. These little mini bikes, they all get really hot. You wouldn't want to touch them, but I think there is something in the shock being turned upside down to stop the performance being changed. But you know, take it as it is. Some people would believe it, some people don't. But either way, even if it doesn't, as I said, the having it upside down does make the adjustment side of it a lot easier. And even if nothing else, making your life easier when you need to do a quick change on a pit stop, or if you've only got like a 10-minute practice session and you want to make a very quick change, you don't have to get your hand all the way up inside to try and adjust the compression settings. Again, if you've just come in off a 10-minute session, that exhaust is going to be red hot, and you're trying to put your hand up inside, you've got more chance of burning yourself. So here your fingers are nowhere near the exhaust, and down here your fingers are nowhere near the exhaust either. So yeah, it makes it far easier. Okay, so the next upgrade we've done, we're very fortunate that a company called Fasteners supported us in 2020. They're also supporting us in 2021 as well. Fantastic guys to work with, and they produce some really good products. As I say, they supported us last year and this year, and what they've done for us this year, every bolt that's on the bike, from the engine mount, as I said, all of the clutch covers, filter covers, etc., all of the fairing bolts, the triple clamp bolts, the perch bolts, the throttle bolts, everything they've supplied us in titanium. It's amazing. Brake disc bolts, as I see there, the fairing bolts, all look really cool. Not only do they look awesome, but they actually save you a massive amount of weight as well. The only ones that we've actually weighed is the disc bolts. There's 3 disc bolts on, obviously on each disc. Standard disc bolts, the steel ones, weigh around about 60 grams, but these titanium ones only weigh 30. So, you know, for 3 bolts there, it's a massive weight saving, 30 grams. You imagine, obviously on this bike you have, well, probably 100 bolts. So you imagine how much weight you're going to be saving there. Again, not so much of a big weight advantage for Zach, because he, I think fully kitted out, he weighs about 50 kilos. But if you're fully kitted out adult that weighs maybe, I don't know, 80, 90 kilos, you know, any weight saving when you're up against small people is massive. So give Race Fasteners a shout if you want a dress up kit, or, you know, an engine bolt kit. They look awesome as well. They all come pre-drilled, so especially for something like the filter, let me just move that, the filter cover, this needs to be lock wired. We're in the process of doing it. You can see we've lock wired the banjo bolts for the oil, but these will need to be lock wired as well. So they all come pre-drilled, so nice and easy, just lock wire them up.
So that concludes our 190 Evo walk around and upgrade video. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, and remember to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks. See you next week for something a little different.